I also welcome our learned speaker, CA Sushil Pransukhka ji, ex-ITAT members for today's seminars. Friends, today our topic of the seminar is the controversies in Income Tax Act. There are lots of controversies in Income Tax Act. Hope all the delegates will get benefit from today's sessions. Our learned speaker also touched the recent Delhi High Court as well as Calcutta High Court recent pronouncement under section 148 also. Friends, before I starting the seminars, I want to share a brief introduction of our association. Friends, VIP Road Chartered Accountant Study Circle is a first study circle in Eastern India established in 1997. VIP Road CA, as usually called VIPCA, has premier association in Eastern India. VIPCA is organizing conferences, symposia, workshop, seminar, a study circle, group discussions, panel discussions on regular basis to keep our members update all the issue of professional interest. VIPCA is also provide fully equipped AC library for the large number of students to get knowledge. Friends, VIPCA is also publish monthly e-zine for updating knowledge of professionals. The quality of journals of VIPCA are widely circulated among the members. CA Subodh Kumar Agrawal, past president of ICI 2013-14, is one of the founder member of our association. With these words, I request program co-chairman CA Neeraj Kejriwal kindly brief introduce our speakers of the today's session. CA Sushil Pransukhka ji. Over to the program chairman Neeraj Kejriwal. Thank you. Neeraj.
Thank you, Bajrang. Am I audible?
Yes, Neeraj.
Yeah, it's my pleasure to introduce in the audience. CA Sushil Pransukhka qualified in 1984 and worked in industry at different top corporate positions. Till recently, he was working as CFO of leading logistic company ABC India Limited of TCI Voruka Group, consultant for income tax matters, and was also elevated as member of ITAT during 2005 to 2007. He is also the past president of ACAE and member of different professional groups. He keeps keen interest in income tax law and currently practicing and doing representation work before Tax for Income Tax Appellate Tribunal. Now I request CA Sushil Pransukhka ji to start his deliberation on today's topic. Over to you. Sir, please start your deliberation.
Thank you, Bajrang ji and Vikas ji, for giving me a chance in the VIP Road Chartered Accountant Association to share some of my thoughts on the Income Tax Act. Bajrang ji is very near and dear to me, and he just my family member also. When he talked to me that, Uncle ji, I want to have a program in my association, I will be too glad. Then certainly I could not refuse it. Because of one reason, that while I have attended some of the seminars in other associations, only this association was left where I could not attend and could not get a chance to interact with my younger members of the very association, of which I am also a member since beginning. So I thank all to give me such an invitation and privilege to talk to you. How the topic has come to for discussion, that when Bajrang ji told me that what should be topic, I also got confused that what should be topic, because recently so many seminars, group discussions are going on in Income Tax Act, and 148 discussions are going on. What is this topic? Then suddenly it comes to my mind that let us some unconventional topic, which we are regularly confronting in our professional practice. Queries are there. So let me select some of the burning topics which are going on. Controversies in Income Tax Act, which we regularly follow, and they are some of the resolved and some are unresolved. And what should be our view on that? I will share my view also. And after that, I will also take up very, very celebrated judgment of Delhi High Court in Manmohan's case regarding 148, for which entire country is celebrating. Friends, I have selected 7 to 8 controversies. 5 to 10 minutes will be taken by each topic. Let me first speak on education cess. First of all, I want to know that how many of us we know that education cess which we are paying along with the income tax surcharge education cess, and what for purpose education cess brought in the statute book, it is also allowable in the Income Tax Act while computing the business income. I certainly know that many of us may not be knowing, some may be knowing. This is a biggest controversy going on nowadays, because let me tell you, this is also a allowable expenditure, has been a matter of dispute whether cess is included in tax or not. We all know that section 40 capital small a Roman 2 specifies that under section 40 that certain below expenditures are or allowances are not allowable under the Income Tax Act while computing the income under business head. And 40A2 Roman 2 says that any sum paid on account of any rate of tax levied on the profits and gains of the business of profession or assessed at a proportion of or otherwise on the basis of such profit or gain. Here the word cess does not appear. That is the bone of contention. Whether education cess is also allowable, which is related to the income tax, and that is calculated on the basis of the profit and gains of the business, income tax could get calculated, and then again education cess is calculated. This is a very, very important topic and very high controversy is there. Bombay High Court, first of all, ITAT Bombay did take a view that since education cess is for a education purpose, this can be also allowed, and there is since no specific mention of word cess in section 40A Roman 2, it is allowable. On similar lines, Bombay High Court also affirmed the tribunal decision, and Rajasthan High Court also in Chambal Fertilizers took the same view. Then what is the controversy? Controversy is that the education cess, as the wording of the 40A2 says, that it should be, income tax should be or any rate should be in proportion to the assessed income. Then well, it will be allowed. It will be allowed, otherwise it will be disallowed. Now, after Bombay High Court and Rajasthan High Court, when issue came up for hearing at the Calcutta Tribunal, as recent as possible in 26/10/21, there are two conflicting decisions. Very interesting decisions I will highlight. What is the controversy? Bombay High Court judgment, first I will tell what was the in Bombay High Court, how they took this view, and then the Rajasthan High Court, how this view was taken. Then how these two decisions were discussed in the ITAT Kolkata decisions. Bombay High Court observed that section 10(4) of the 1922 Act was similar section where it was also disallowed. There what cess was appearing, but when it came to 48(2), the word was dropped. And most interestingly, when the parliament approved this section, then it had gone to the originally word cess was there, but it will refer to the select committee. And thus, on the advice of select committee, cess word was dropped. Then in that context, Bombay High Court did hold that cess is allowable. And Rajasthan High Court relied on a circular of CBDT as old as 18/5/1967. CBDT circular number 91/58/66, dated 18 May 1967. If anybody wants to write, can write the circular number. This circular specifically says that it is observed that some of the assessing officers are not allowing the cess in spite of the word cess has been dropped, and this should be made known to all the field officers. But it does not mention about specifically about education cess. It says about cess, and it reproduces the wordings of the 40A22 there, and says that cess word is not there, so it should be allowed. There was no question of whether education cess or other cess. Let me tell you, there are other cesses also, like petrol, sugar cess, road motor vehicle cess. As per Sex Act, there are so many cess are all levied. Those cesses are different, and education cess are different. In that context, CBDT circular issued is circular that this cess should be allowable. On that basis, in Kanuria Chemical, in SR Bartley case, in ITA number 2589, Kolkata 20919, pronounced on 26/10/21, it was held that considering both Bombay High Court judgment, Rajasthan High Court judgment, and 40AI2's intention, that this is allowable. But Kanuria Chemical took an adverse view. Very interesting. And in Bombay High Court also relied upon a judgment of the Supreme Court in a Jaipuria Samla 82 ITR 580. In that case, it was held that profit and gains of business has to be computed under section 29, no other way. So it has to be allowed. On the other hand, other Supreme Court judgment was also there, which was relied by in the ITAT Kolkata in Kanuria Chemical case. Kanuria Chemical judgment of Supreme Court in case of CIT versus K. Srinivasan 83 ITR 346 was relied. Very interesting. In that case, Supreme Court was seized with the issue that whether income tax includes cess or whether include, not specifically cess, whether the income tax includes, for the first time, word includes surcharge or additional surcharge. So Supreme Court came to the conclusion that income tax chargeable is of 4 types: basic charge, surcharge, a special charge, and additional charge. These are the 4 types of taxes which are included in income tax. Later on, in the same order, bench goes on to explain that when education cess was introduced in 2004, and when the education cess was introduced in 2004, in objective and reason, it was mentioned that additional surcharge to be called as education cess will be levied charge. So bench took a view that since on the conjoined reading of Supreme Court judgment in the case of K. Srinivasan and the object and reasons of Finance Act 2004, when the education cess was allowed, was levied, that additional surcharge to be called as educational cess shall be levied. It was held by the Kolkata ITT that so education cess is also additional charge. It is a tax, so it will not be allowed. So controversy is still there. Different benches have taken different view. I think matter may go to special bench, then again to the High Court or Supreme Court, what we'll know. But this is the current controversy going on. So what should be the view taken? First of all, we don't know that whether education cess is allowable or not. But since some of the benches have taken the decision, taken the view that education cess is also allowed as a section in section 37 as a business expenditure. So some of the advice has been given and some corporates are following that if assessment proceeding is going on, so department view was that, sir, how education cess can be computed? Because suppose you calculate education cess, then again education cess will come, that will be allowable, then again education cess will come, the how this vicious circle will be resolved. But those issues has not been addressed so far, and judgment is like this, which I have told. So in the assessment proceedings, one can attempt to have the claim of allowance of education cess, and if it is during the assessment proceedings, if such a claim is made, assessing officer is bound to allow the following the ITAT Calcutta judgments. But now, since this is a contradictory judgments, it may not be allowed. But certainly, this if you make a claim, the claim will stand there. Suppose some decision comes in favor later on, that it will be beneficial to us. This is the first issue, education cess, which I have addressed. Now, second issue. Till now, have anybody had a question on this? I can answer. Is there any question on this issue? Okay. Let me proceed further. Now, second issue is section 115 BBE, very notorious sections where exorbitant rate has been prescribed by the Direct Tax Amendment Act 2016, which has been given assent by the President in December 16, only to tax heavily on the cash deposits in the demonetization period. Now, one can ask, controversy है क्या? Controversy इसमें ये है कि ये लागू कब से होगा? When it will be effective? Since it has been amended after 1st April of 2016 and it come into effect on December 16, some professionals are taking a view. In fact, some writ petition is pending in the Rajasthan High Court also, that it is not applicable to section 17-18. It will be applicable for assessment year 18-19. Reason is they are relying on the Supreme Court judgment in Karim Thawi Tea Estate. In Karim Thawi Tea Estate, when Supreme Court was seized with the issue of charge of surcharge on the agricultural income tax, it was held that any law on the 1st April of the financial year, please listen carefully, any law on the 1st day of the financial year shall be applicable for the relevant assessment year. And if any amendment comes after 1st April, it will not be relevant for that assessment year. What does it mean? Then, relying on judgment, people took the view that since amendment has come after 1st April in December 2016, and it will stand on 1st April 2017, so it will be applicable for financial year 17-18 and assessment year 18-19. Am I clear? But it was a wrong view. It is a wrong view, and most of us we are led to believe that this can be a prospective. 18-19 will be there. This cannot be retrospective. Question here is not of retrospective. Prospective. I am referring to judgment of Patna High Court full bench, Loknath Goenka, 109 taxman.com 203, where very beautifully this judgment has been analyzed. How I am saying that Patna High Court was seized of was dealing with a issue when you remember that when in 75 there was amendment in between November and December, September, October to include minors' income in the parent derived from the partnership firm, and that was applicable for from 1/4/2076. Tribunal took a view that it will be, since amendment has come in this between after 1st April, relevant to the financial year, it will be applicable for 76/77, and they added it to the income of the SSC. When matter come up before the Patna High Court, it categorically said that Karim Thabi Tea Estate was raised before the Patna High Court, and it was categorically held by the Patna High Court full bench. That is, it is entirely different context. Karim Thabi Tea Estate clearly says that law as stands on first day of financial year shall be applicable for the assessment of that year. So in this case, what was issue before the Patna High Court? That whether minor income where accounts has already closed before 76 can be added to the income of the parent based on the law which has come into effect of the 76 after 1st April. Very beautifully analyzed by the Patna High Court. They said no, this will be applicable for 78/79, not 76/78, because the law which has come on in between 1st April to 31st March will be relevant for the next assessment year, not that assessment year. Why? Friends, we know that every year budget comes and we see that income tax rates are prescribed in the beginning. What is that? That rate we have already seen in the previous budget, because in this year budget, what rates were at the last in the financial bill, which is computed, which is the rates prescribed for the next financial year, become the rate of that financial year. I hope I am clear that if financial year budget comes, then the rates in the beginning are for the assessment year, and budget is implemented for the first day of the financial year. So whatever the income arises in that financial year, rate is prescribed on the first day of this thing. So since 115 BBE is not the substantive section, it is only the rate prescribes. So it will be applicable on the 17/18. And it is not creating any new liability by way of substantive law. High Court analyzed that in the minor's income, if that is added, that will create a new liability. That's why it will not be applicable for that assessment year, but in the next assessment year. In that context, it should be understood, and this controversy should be understood as resolved. And my humble view is that we should not be in confusion that 115 B rate will not be for assessment year. It will be applicable from 17/18. It will be applicable for 17/18 also. So I have discussed the 115 BBE also. Now, third topic, I am taking 44 AD, presumptive tax. Why I have taken this topic? 144 AD, this is presumptive tax. This section prescribes that if turnover exceeds not more than 2 crore, then 8% of the profit will be presumed on estimate basis. Government. What happens if someone prepares the accounts and accounts are not reliable? Otherwise, also assessment of assessing officer computes on the estimate basis. So this profit computation of presumptive taxation is estimate basis of 8%. Then the question arises that if you are not keeping books of account, you are offering your tax at the 8%, then section 68 does not apply. Whether there is a cash credit in the books of account, one can argue that I am not keeping books of account, so I am not authorized, I am not liable to answer that from where the credit entry has come in passbook or the books of account. So there is a major controversy about this also, which has been several benches have taken a view that no, in case of 44 AD also 68 will apply. For this, I will refer to make the concept very clear, the judgment of Kale Khan by Supreme Court. Kale Khan Supreme Court in 50 ITR 1, Supreme Court says, very beautifully analyze this aspect. Friends, this is very, very important to understand facts of each case. And we should try to apply the law on the facts, not the facts of the law. That's why I keep very much emphasis, I give emphasis on the facts. According to facts, law moves. If facts are not in your favor, then if you want to take the help from the law, it is not possible. We are seeing day and night. So I will try to bring out what were the facts before in the Kale Khan before the Supreme Court. There was a Manihari trader having two businesses. One business of Manihari and second business was Bidi. He filed the return for 2 assessment years, and in those assessment years, assessing officer found that accounts are not reliable, not worth considering. So what assessing officer did? They estimated the profit at the rate of something, gross profit was calculated on the estimate basis. There was no dispute about the calculation of rate of the gross profit, what should be applied. There was no dispute. But in the third year, when assessing officer saw in assessment year 48-49 that some credit entries have been left out, has escaped income. This is according to the old law 1922 Act, which jurisprudence is just still applying to the present scenario also. What assessing officer found that in 45-46 assessment year, there are 3-4 entries: gold khata, ghar khata, Muhammad Islam, Muslim B khata. 47-48, ghar khata, credit, sale of ornaments, Yaqub minor, son, loan of 20,000 rupees. Then question arose. Then assessing officer reopened the assessment. Okay, you have not, let me verify the source of these credits. Then there was a battle of fight between the Supreme Tribunal. The tribunal deleted 2 of the additions, but balance was kept by tribunal. Then it again matter came before the High Court, then before the Supreme Court. Supreme Court, friends, has very, very diligently analyzed this issue in the manner that Supreme Court distinguished 2 types of income. What is the income? Supreme Court said that onus is on the assessee, whether it is a income, the offer for tax, and if it is a income, then whether it is a exempt income. The onus of the assessee. Assessee has to prove the just a minute. Source of credit. So Supreme Court analyzed the issue in the manner whether onus is on the assessee. So Supreme Court took instances that distinguished the whether income from undisclosed income from disclosed source or undisclosed income from undisclosed source. Please listen carefully. Undisclosed income from undisclosed source and undisclosed income from disclosed source. Disclosed source means what? In this case, because SSC argued that, sir, it will be double taxation. I am offering my income has been assessed as per the gross profit rate. If you again add this income, loan amount in the income, it will be double taxation. Supreme Court said, no, it is not double taxation. There is a difference between undisclosed source from disclosed income and undisclosed from undisclosed income. Source is important. If you can prove that your income has from the business, then your argument is well accepted, that is, this will be double taxation. But you are not able to prove from where this loan entry has come, whether this is related to business or not, then onus is on you. This undisclosed income is from the undisclosed source. Onus is on you. So in that context, is what held that the section 68 or old section, whatever was there in the earlier act, will be applicable on the case of. So drawing the ratio of that decision and circumstances, several judgments have come here also, that in 44 AD case also, cash credit. So why I am saying so, we should not remain in illusion that if we are offering 40 AD, because it is expected that we are keeping some books of account to substantiate our turnover profit, because 8% is the presumptive rate. If you are higher rate, then you have to claim, you have to offer the higher rate also. So there is no way that cash credit is not taxable if you are offering this, your income under section 44 AD. This was my third topic. Fourth topic is also very interesting, that contingent consideration. Contingent consideration means what? Suppose two corporate houses or one corporate house want to exit from their shareholding, and other person buys the shareholding. Normally we see that some considerations are paid on share transfer, but some considerations are kept for future, different consideration in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, depending on the performance of the company, EBITDA margin or revenue or whatever was that. So question is that on the transfer of shares, where the entire consideration will be taxed as a capital gain in the year 1, or it can be deferred in when actual consideration is received in later years. This is a moot controversy. And we often grapple with this because of conflicting decisions of the high courts also. I will explain how. Capital gain is in charging section 45, capital gain says that any income arising from the profit or gains of the transfer of the capital asset will be taxable in the year of transfer. And 48 is the computation section. How the computation section will be computed? That whole of the consideration received or accruing. Accruing what is there? So in that view of the matter, both there are two judgments of the Bombay High Court and Delhi High Court on different footings. And we will try to resolve it, because this issue regularly comes. The contingent consideration, when consideration I have not received, it is not determinable, then how should I pay tax in the year 1 also? So Bombay High Court took a adverse view that no, entire consideration cannot be taxed in the year 1, because it has not accrued to the income unless right is established by the, and it becomes quantifiable. There is no right accrued in favor of the transferor. So entire consideration cannot be taxed in the year 1, in the year of transfer. But Delhi High Court took a contrary view that as per the language of section 45 and 48, entire consideration has to be computed in the year 1. There is no concept of defer revenue with the capital gain. One more question arises here. And Delhi High Court also relied on the Madras High Court decision. For what? That Madras High Court said that, okay, you pay the entire consideration in the year 1, and suppose you don't receive consideration later on, that you claim is a capital loss. So there is entire controversy I wanted to put before you of the contingent consideration. So my advice will be that since cost of litigation is very high, there may be some liquidity constraints on the behalf for the SSC. They should offer the entire consideration in the year 1 to avoid any dispute and claim the capital loss if that is not received in the later years. This is the 4th controversy. 5th controversy is the regarding LLP. We often grapple with. What is that controversy? Many of us we know that some companies have converted into LLP. And I regularly get the phone call on this controversy. So I applied my brain on this also. LLP, when it got converted from the company was a premium reserve. Company say, company issued shares premium of 100 rupees. Later on, shares were transferred at rupees 10 rupees or 5 rupees, which investors are holding. Then it got into the converted to the LLP. In LLP, that share premium account is appearing as a reserve. So if that reserve is taken out by the SSC, by the shareholders who have become partners in the LLP, whether it will be taken as it will be taxable because they are holding shares at the 5 or 10, whatever they have purchased, and their amount credited in the books of account is much more than that, whether difference will be taxable in the hands of the shareholders or the partners who withdraw the money. I am not on the section 45(4) or 9(b) because it is not a question of dissolution or retirement. I am assuming that there is no retirement, no dissolution as it is. So those sections will not come into play. As it is, what will be the fate if amount is withdrawn by this thing? My contention is that when shares are got into partners' interest in the LLP, whatever amount is there, it is the partner's interest. Partner is withdrawing its own money from the partnership firm. It is more or less, since we are knowing that we are buying shares at somebody is buying share at 10 rupees, but private limited company, it also happens that it is valuation much more. Shares have been 100 rupees. They are trading at 200 rupees, 500, not trading, but they are changing hands with equity round 1, equity round 2. What will happen in that case? So cost of acquisition, different thing, and creating interest in the partners firm is the different thing. Why raise this issue? There was a judgment of advance ruling in Domino Printing. Domino Printing is the foreign company having subsidiary in India. That company wanted to get itself converted into the LLP, and that company approached the AR. What will be my fate? In this case, converted to this. And AR ruling, though is not universal binding, it is binding on the person who seeks the So in the Domino Printing, AR has given some guidance or some observations that are very relevant and very useful for us to understand. AR says that this is the capital gain in the hands of the shareholder at the time of the conversion. Not only the capital. It has not been said only the capital, but since reserve is also has to be distributed among the partners, only partner has the claim on it. So there is a capital gain. And when revenue neutral exemption in section 45, 13B of the section 47, 13B was given, revenue neutral exercise was given, then it has been made revenue neutral both for the company's perspective and the shareholder perspective. Company's perspective means if company gets converted into LLP, there is no transfer, and when shares get extinguished, that domino printing clearly says that shares got extinguished, that itself giving rise to the capital gain. And if conditions are not fulfilled in section 45, 47, 13B, then it is taxable as a capital gain. So my submission is that if that is treated as capital gain, and if you are fulfilling all the conditions, then why should be there any tax? So this by I will humble submission that one should read the judgment of domino printing. It is available on the website. That will help to resolve this issue, which very much bothering the minds of the professionals who have converted their company into the LLP. One more issue. We are now in the new world, digital world, and using cloud services like Amazon and all that. Whether services being used from cloud services from, like suppose Amazon Web Bus services, whether we are liable to pay deduct TDS on that, on section 95. Some say no, it is not required. Some say it is required. So I have analyzed this issue from my own angle or my understanding of section 195. So a little bit of background I will say of section 195. Then I will come to the issue of Amazon cloud services for better understanding and clarity. Section 195 says that if any payment is made to non-resident, whether by a resident or non-resident, and income is chargeable to tax in India, then every payment made to non-resident is subject to TDS or the rate prescribed in the Act. So very important words phraseology is that if income is chargeable to tax in India, it is well settled. Now, only for sake of clarity, I am repeating it, that in GE Electric case, Supreme Court has held that only if the income is chargeable to tax in India, then TDS will have to be deducted. And that necessarily, it takes us to section 9, where the income deemed to arise in India applies or not. That I will come later on. First of all, let me deal with this. What is the GE Electric case? And every income which is chargeable to tax has to be subject to TDS, because non-compliance is very, very costly. 1%, 201, and then non-disallowance under section 40A, Roman 1, and prosecution also. And to determine the amount which is chargeable to tax, section 195, 2 and 3 are in the place. Suppose you are not able to determine what is the income element, you are making gross payment, and you are not able to determine what amounts be subject to tax, you can apply to the assessing officer. Nowadays, I think it is online. You can apply and get your income determined. What the portion of the income should be, which is embedded in the whole consideration, should be subject to tax. After this, I will take to the section 9. Section 9 says business income, interest income, royalty income. See, friends, section 195 will take 1 or 2 hours itself. So I am very, very deeply touching it for our understanding that whether the Amazon cloud services is subject to TDS or not, because it has very, very hot topic now, and a lot of queries come on this key on online transactions. What will the fate of TDS, and how this is important for this year also? That will I also explain. So we have to examine whether the payment which we are making to the Amazon or the Amazon Web Services, whether that is business income, interest, royalty, or fee for technical services. On these 4 parameters, we have to check the payment we are making is for what purpose. one may be business income. For business income, it has to be, Amazon has to, originally has to have the business connection and permanent establishment in India. So what is business connection and what is permanent establishment? It is itself a very, very vast subject. But as we know that Amazon does not have permanent establishment in India, but there is a new explanation 2A has been added in section 9, which is effective from assessment 22-23. That's why I told that this is very current year also. That section provision of which came into effect from financial year 21-22, it will fall in that category. Whether it is significant economic presence in India or not, then will constitute as a business connection automatically. So after seeing that characterization of the transaction as a business income, we will check whether it is a business income or not. Interest question doesn't arise. Third, whether it is a royalty or not. Royalty definition says that transfer of all or any rights in the computer software is amounting to royalty. And explanation 4 to section 9 royalty definition has further widened the scope. So it may fall in the royalty category. Now then we have to see that whether, I will come to DTA later on. First of, let us examine the these 4 categories. Whether it will fall under the fees for technical services. Fee for technical services, it may not fall because there is judgment of Bombay ITAT in Siemens that for having a technical service, there should be presence of human element. Since these are cloud services are given by virtual machines, this may not find suitable for the technical services. So the question was only of whether it is royalty or business income. Business income, friends, as I told that from 1/4/2022, there is new explanation and threshold limit by notification has been gone up 2 crore rupees. What is that? That if any goods or services are purchased from the non-resident, a threshold of 2 crore or more, then it will constitute a business. It will be taken as that NRI and non-resident company or whatever has a business presence in India, business connection in India. But friends, here is some relief that corresponding amendments had not been made in the DTAA. What is DTAA? A double taxation avoidance agreement between 2 countries, which draws the taxation rights between the companies, between the 2 countries, what tax, on what income, what tax rate, and what income will be taxable by which company. So since unless that amendment comes into there, but it will be applicable for those countries where DTA is not there. So very, very careful that if you are dealing with any client any country which does not have any DTA, then as per Act, if any goods or services are purchased from there, more than 2 crore rupees, they are liable to TDS in India, Section 194. Otherwise, very, very serious consequences are there. So in this case, what I would suggest that as a precaution, we should deduct TDS at that 10% as a royalty and deposit. Then we can, if we are sure that this is not a royalty, then we can take a refund under Section 248. But Finance Act 2016 has brought in equalization levy of 2%. If those transactions are not covered between royalty and software, royalty and fees for technical services, then 2% of the transaction will be levied by the non-resident. Earlier, it was only for advertisement like Google tax, we know. Then it has been now extended to the various sales and purchase transactions also, by electronic services also. on which they have to collect 2% TDS, equalizer levy, and deposit with the government. Now, in this year, further amendment has come that if it is characterized as royalty and fees for technical services, then equalizer levy will not be levied. So this is how I have explained this Amazon cloud services taxation, and we should keep in mind that by dealing with this, which country is there, not, and expansion 2A of section 9 is very, very important to be kept in mind. Thank you, friends. So these are the controversies. One or two small controversies are also there. So time is running out. I have to explain this Supreme Court, High Court judgment also. So I am coming to the High Court judgment. Very, very celebrated judgment. Friends, now I am dealing with the Delhi High Court judgment, Manmohan Kohli's case in section 148. Very interesting judgment. We all are very happy. Now we have to see what is the way forward. Some are anxious, some are happy. Those who are filed writ petitions are happy. Those who have not, they are anxious that what will happen to them. I will explain each and everything now by explaining the Delhi High Court judgment and what will be the law which will be available for us and options available for us. Friends, we all know that in March 20, pandemic struck the country, engulfing entire nation, and there was complete lockdown. In view of that matter, government came out with the ordinance shifting some deadlines for compliances, both for taxpayers and the department. Lot of actions were to be taken in between from March to onwards. All were shifted on a later dates. First of all to June, then September. Then as the pandemic progressed, the extension went on up to March 21. In all extension, there was a very important extension of 148 also. First of all, I will deal with assessment year 13-14 notices. Assessment year 13-14 notices were time barred on 31st March 20, were getting time barred at 20, as we all know. And time left was only 5 or 6 days when complete lockdown was announced. And back that ordinance, it was also shifted to June. If that notice is issued can be issued up to June. I'm not going with other extensions and all that, only I'm concentrating on 148. Then again, it went up to December, then went up into March. Till that, there is no problem. So assessment year 13-14 notices become valid if it is issued up to March 21. And by March 21, by the way, assessment year 14-5 also becoming time barred on 31st March 21. When the government saw that there is in between, they converted the ordinance into the act. There is no issue on that. And after becoming the TOLA Act, government started notifications from March, when that, because they had to issue lakhs of notices in the month of March. I don't know why government always issues, they have full year to issue notice, they issue notices only in March, that also on 31st March by midnight. So section 148, sorry, in the finance, when March came, next March came. In the meantime, budget had come. In the budget, entire section 148 proceeding, 147, 148, 149, 150, 151, all set of sections were substituted and new section came into place. All sections were repealed. In between, in March 21, when government saw that it has to issue lakhs of notices, they will not be able to meet the deadline, they issue a notification on 31st March and took the time up to the April 21. And in that notification, added one explanation. What was the explanation? That because this whole Tola Act was brought in only to extend the timelines. An explanation was added in the notification that law as stood on 31st March 21 shall apply in the notices issued in the month of April also. And again on 27th April, they came out with another notification extending date up to June. So entire interim period of 1st April 2021 to 31st March, 30th June 21 became the subject matter of discussion and dispute here. Whether government can issue notice of assessment at 1314 and 1415 in the old law in the extended time period or not, as per the language of section explanation used in the section Tola Act in the notification. Friends, when I saw the notification and saw the explanation, I was first point out in the social media how it is possible that when that section does not exist, has been repealed, and new section has come, then how this Tola Act can enable the department to issue a statutory notice like that 148 in the old regime, old section, when old section is not there. How it is possible? But frankly speaking, but there was no much taker at that time. But slowly it gathered momentum. And now see what is the state of affairs in the whole of India. That this explanation is main bone of the contention and where the department has done the blunder. They have brought the new law and they have made the old law applicable by way of notification, totally contrast. Then some of the taxpayers went to the Calcutta, Delhi, Bombay, everywhere. Writ petitions were filed and a stay order was granted. Friends, there are two categories of notices which were issued. Assessment year 13-14 and 14-15 before 31st March. So those who has got notices before 31st March, they have nothing to do with this discussion. This judgment is not for them. They have to fight their own fight. As 148 reason to believe and all that recording, they have to fight. This judgment is only pertaining to notices which has been issued in extended time period from 1st April 21 to 30th June 21, whether those notices are valid or not, legally valid or not. And some of notices for assessment year 15-16, 17-18 has 16-17 has also been issued post April 21. So there are three types of notices. First is gone. Now we have to deal with only two types of notices. 13-14, 14-15, between April, May, June, and assessment year 15-16, 16-17, 17-18. First of all, I will deal with the Chhattis High Court. Because friends, I am of the view that unless we listen the department view or other parties' view or contrary view, we are not able to justice with our analysis. And then our mind will also become clear where we are faltering. We are saying that Chhattisgarh judgment is not correct. It is not correct. I am also saying it is not correct. But why? I have also been given the view that we must attack the explanation, not 148A. Lot of social media and law judgment, it is a belief that notices issued after 31st March should necessarily be issued along with notice of 148A. Unless 148A is issued, any notice issued after 31st March 21 is invalid. No, I'm not saying that it is valid. But suppose you are taking only this ground, 148A, then this is not going to stand. Why I'm saying so? In that case, what will court will say? This is the procedural section. And you have pandemic problem, then the department has also pandemic problem. This is the law, 148A, because you see 148, 148A, 147, 149, the entire set of sections were substituted. We must think in that direction. And government is not issuing notices in the new law. They are issuing notices in the old law. So they have not issued the 148 notice. What is wrong in it? So we must attack that notices itself are wrong because of they have been issued in the old law. So if we take the ground of 148A only, that will have not his own legs. That is what has happened in Chhattisgarh judgment. Chhattisgarh, I don't know who the advocate appeared before it, whether argued or not, but at least that is not mentioned in the order and explanation has not been attacked. So in that context, judgment is correct. 148 is what? Procedural notice. Chhattisgarh High Court has said, okay, if you have pandemic, department has also pandemic. If explanation point would have been taken there, decision would be different. Let matter be aside here. Then we come to the Allahabad High Court, Calcutta High Court, Delhi High Court. So I will discuss only Delhi High Court judgment. And Calcutta High Court judgment has only followed the Delhi High Court and Rajasthan High Court, Allahabad High Court judgment. So not what discussing Calcutta High Court judgment, but it will be pointed out by me that it is a binding decision for all of us. That is why it is important. Delhi High Court judgment would not help us, but Calcutta High Court, since it has come in our favor, it will be helpful to us. So let us examine what happened in Delhi High Court. Very beautiful order by the judge written there. But friends, I will say there is some hint to department also. What is there, I will say. When I read the judgment yesterday in full, then before that, day before that, I have been saying that come whatever amendment comes, department has done the master blender. It is not going to help department anywhere in the Supreme Court also by any amendment. When I read the Delhi High Court judgment, a little bit suspicious has come to my mind. What can happen? I will explain. But judgment has been written very, very nice way, and all the arguments of the department has been struck down by the judge. So it is very, very necessary to know what were the arguments by the department, what were the arguments by the taxpayers, advocates, and what the judge has said, has ruled out. Friends, तोला एक्ट का जो सेक्शन 3(1) है, 3(1) of section, that is the enabling provision for extending the time. Or there is no word that law regarding the validity of the law. So let me explain what is the department's viewpoint were there, and what is the SAC's point over there, and how the judgment came out. डिपार्टमेंट का कहना था कि सेक्शन 6 ऑफ जेंडर क्लॉजेज एक्ट ये हमारे फेवर में है। मैं पढ़ता हूं जेंडर क्लॉजेज एक्ट 6 क्या है। इफेक्ट ऑफ रिपील, where this act or any central act regulation after commencement of this act repeals any enactment hitherto made or hereafter to be made, then unless a different intention, I am underlining it, unless a different intention appears, the repeal shall not affect clause C. Any right, privilege, obligation or liability acquired or incurred under any enactment so repealed. डिपार्टमेंट का ये कहना है कि जो रिपील हो गया उसके अंडर जो भी एक्शन लेना था अंडर क्लाउज 6C के अंडर में मेरे को राइट है, वेस्टेड राइट हमारा है, हम ले सकते हैं, वी कैन टेक द एक्शन। एंड हाउ द जज हैज काउंटर्ड इट विल कम लेटर ऑन। लेट मी फर्स्ट पुट अप द आर्गुमेंट फ्रॉम द डिपार्टमेंट साइड, देन वी विल हैव बेटर अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ केस लॉ। And department also relied upon the Chhattisgarh High Court, as I already said. And department also said that the Tola Act 20 is not in conflict with the Income Tax Act. And department also relied on a Supreme Court judgment in T.S. Balaiya. Whether old repealed law is intended to be destroyed or not. Department was view that the old provision has not been destroyed. So we are privileged. We have every right to issue notices under the Gender Clauses Act also. And third view of the department was that this is explanation. This is Tola Act is stop the clock. And they cited a very US court decision, and entire paragraph is there in the judgment. In the judgment, judge has written all the old law, new law, circulars, very long order, and they have. So I'm not discussing all those things because we all supposed to know. Only operative part of the order I'm discussing. And department's argument was that this is the stop the clock arrangement. And in the explanation, there is a legal fiction. This is very important. Legal fiction is that the notices have been validated by the explanation. This is a legal fiction. And what were our petitioners' argument were there? This explanation is for the purpose of only extending the timelines. Explanation, by way of explanation, executive cannot assume the power of parliament to enact a law. And in this Tola Act, there is no express provision to make the law valid. This is only procedural law. They also relied upon the Allahabad High Court judgment and distinguished Chhattis High Court judgment, as I told you. And whole contention of the petitioners were that key explanation was ultra vires and it did not carry any express provision. And executive, how can executive exercise the parliament power to enact a new law? In the view that the matter notice was quest. And what the judges have said, let me say. Judges have said that this was the delegated power. Tola Act was delegated power. And delegated power cannot go beyond a certain limit for which they have been delegated. They have been delegated only to extend the timelines. And they are assuming or self-taking on himself or itself to extend the validity of the section also. Both sections are mutually exclusive. department had also taken a view or argued that non-obstantive clause is there in the section 313. Then judge countered that non-obstantive clause has to be construed very strictly because it supersedes the timeline. Up to timeline, there is no problem. मतलब क्या हुआ, अगर 31 मार्च तक टाइम बढ़ाते 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 आ रहे हैं मार्च से, तब तक तो कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. लेकिन मार्च के बाद जैसे ही टाइम बढ़ा लिया आप और सेक्शन है ही नहीं, एम्प्टी है, तो ये चलेगा नहीं. एंड स्टॉप द क्लॉक के बारे में क्या कहा दिल्ली हाईकोर्ट ने? कहा दिस इज नॉट द स्टॉप द क्लॉक. स्टॉप द क्लॉक में तो होता है कि सारी चीज बंद हो जाती है. At one hand, you are initiating 144B, faceless proceedings, penalty proceedings. Stop the clock क्या खाली इसके लिए ही है, reassessment के लिए ही है? You are making different arguments for different extent for different provisions. So stop the clock नहीं चलेगा. Now I am coming to the very, very important legal fiction aspect. What Delhi High Court has mentioned. Delhi High Court, in the case of this Manmohan's case, has said, in countering the department's argument, that is, the legal fiction has been created in explanation. Judge has said, Honorable Judge has said that this is not the legal fiction. This is pen valena explanation in which you have taken action in the old law. तब उन्होंने क्या लिखा है कि अगर ये लैंग्वेज होती तो हम समझते कि डीमिंग फिक्शन है. क्या लैंग्वेज होती? मैं पढ़ के सुना रहा हूं. एक्शन इज टेकन विद इन द एक्सटेंडेड टाइम लिमिट. एक्शन इज टेकन विद इन द एक्सटेंडेड टाइम लिमिट deemed to be have taken before the expiry of the original time, unextended time. This is very, very important. सुप्रीम दिल्ली हाई कोर्ट ने ये क्या कह दिया कि अगर ये लैंग्वेज रहती तो मानते कि लीगल, ये नहीं कहा कि ये सब मतलब हम नहीं मानते या कुछ नहीं माना. ये कहा कि ये लीगल फिक्शन ये होता है और आपका जो आर्गुमेंट है ये लीगल फिक्शन नहीं होता है. तो मेरा कहने का मतलब ये है, अगर ये अमेंडमेंट आने की जो बात हो रही है, अगर दिल्ली हाई कोर्ट जजमेंट का उनको पढ़ना ठीक से आ जाए और इस बात को लेकर वो अमेंडमेंट कर दें तो क्या पोजीशन रहे? क्या हो सकता है? रिट्रोस्पेक्टिव हो सकता है? ये तो अनदर लिटिगेशन होगा. मान लीजिए सुप्रीम कोर्ट में लोग जाएंगे, अब जा ही रहे हैं. सुप्रीम कोर्ट में जाए और ये अमेंडमेंट भी आ जाए तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट में अमेंडमेंट भी रहेगा और अपील भी रहेगी, तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट क्या व्यू रहेगा? तो ये लाइन पढ़ने के बाद मेरे को लगा कहीं डिपार्टमेंट ने को हिंट तो नहीं दिया गया है, लेकिन आई कीप द फिंगर क्रॉस्ड, आई कैन नॉट से एनीथिंग. सो फ्रेंड्स, दिस इज वेरी, वेरी गुड जजमेंट. एंड वन मोर आर्गुमेंट वाज टेकन दैट by the department that this is a special act. Tola Act is a special act, and a special act overrides the General Act. जज ने कहा, दिल्ली हाई कोर्ट ने कहा नहीं नहीं नहीं, ये both acts are in different spheres, different context. This is the procedural law. There is no question of overriding the Income Tax Act. So friends, I have completed my controversies and my analysis of the Delhi High Court. If anybody has to say, interact with me, I will be very happy to interact with VIP fellow chartered accountants. It is before time, I know. Bajrang ji? Hello.
हेलो, आवाज आ रही है?
आ रही है.
हाँ.
आज थोड़ा जूम से रिलेटेड प्रॉब्लम है, काफी भयंकर आज जूम वाला, मतलब टेक्निकल प्रॉब्लम कर रखा है जूम वाला।
अच्छा, so I have completed my deliberation, Bajrang ji.
Yes sir, yes sir. So I request the house, if any queries or regarding the relevant topic, they can raise their hands or I will unmute
Yes.
the participants.
Sushil Bhaiya, there is one question from me.
हाँ,
That the notice for 148 for the assistant year 1340 has been issued on 31st, but it was received on 1st of April at 7 a.m. in the morning.
yes.
And I filed a writ application for the client, and I think on 16th Monday the order has been received, and the petition made by the order has been passed. So whether it will be suffice the matter for me.
You see, first of all, I will say that simply by questioning the notice, till now it is settled.
Yeah.
There are in many cases, I have my client has also received notice at 1:39, and I have filed a writ petition and that has been request. And basic concept of the 140 notice is that notice should be issued, not served. You have got 1st April, it is immaterial. So, but in the electronic atmosphere
Mode. Yes, sir.
we assume that it comes within seconds, within minutes. If it has
Yes,
come in the morning, we must have issued on 1st also. So
Yes, sir.
the onus is on the department to show
prove.
by their ITBA or whatever that, to prove that when they have uploaded or whether they have left the control of the assessing officer, left the server of the assessing officer, no notices. I think there should be no problem. If notice have request, then we should treat it as request, and lot of notices are like that.
Yes, sir. So moreover, I received a 142 notices regarding that. I had already intimated the department that writ petition has been filed and it has been stay order has been issued. Still, they are issuing the notices for submission of documents. Now
देखिए ये लोग नहीं मानेंगे कि जुडिशियल जो हियरची है, कलकत्ता हाई कोर्ट का डिसीजन उन पर बाइंडिंग है, दे आर बाइंडिंग ऑन इट, उस पर भी ये लोग जाते हैं, जाएंगे। तो आप उनको एक काम कीजिए, लिख दीजिए कि नॉन कंप्लायंस विद द कंटेंट ऑफ द कोर्ट,
कंटेंप्ट ऑफ कोर्ट।
यस, लिखना चाहिए।
ओके सर। सर एक क्वेश्चन मेरा और है सर, रिगार्डिंग टू टीसीएस ऑन रियलाइजेशन, जो पिछले बार 206(2) आया था सर। हाँ। उसमें अगर किसी क्लाइंट ने टीसीएस नहीं काटा है तो उसका क्या इम्प्लीकेशन हो सकता है सर?
नॉन डिडक्शन ऑफ नॉन कलेक्शन ऑफ टीसीएस का जो था वही कलेक्शन होगा। मेरे को अभी पूरा ध्यान में नहीं है, आप मेरे को मेल कर दीजिएगा, मैं जवाब दे दूंगा आपको। मेरे को अभी
नहीं, मेरे हिसाब है सर बिजनेस प्रोफेशन वो ऐड नहीं होगा ना, जैसे अपने टीडीएस नहीं काटते हैं तो उसमें जो ग्रॉस अमाउंट है दैट हैज बीन एडेड टू द इनकम, बट आई थिंक इट विल नॉट ओनली द पेनल प्रोविजंस और जो इंटरेस्ट है दैट विल बी।
हां, पेनल प्रोविजन तो लगेगा ही,
पेनल लगेगा, मतलब इट विल नॉट बी एडेड टू द इनकम, बिकॉज अगर टीडीएस अपने प्रोफेशनल फीस पे नहीं काटते हैं सर, अगर 1 लाख रुपए प्रोफेशनल फीस है तो 30,000 इज एडेड टू द इनकम अंडर सेक्शन 40। हां, in this case whether the sales amount will be deducted will be added to the income, that is my question.
वो क्वेश्चन वो नहीं है, उसमें
वो नहीं आएगा ना सर?
वो नहीं आएगा।
ओके भाई,
तो वो अपना खर्चा क्लेम नहीं कर रहे हैं ना, अपने तो सेल्स दिखा रहे हैं उसको।
खाली पेनल्टी प्रोविजंस जो भी आएगा, पेनल्टी प्रोविजंस
वो तो आएगा ही, वो तो आएगा।
पेनल्टी प्रोविजंस, ठीक सर। And anyone in the house would like to ask question? Can
विकास, 2 पर्सन हैंड्स रेज किए, उनको अनम्यूट कर दो ना।
2 पर्सन रेज।
अनिल जी हैंड रेज कर रखे हैं।
अनिल भैया हमारे पास प्रेसिडेंट हैं।
हाँ, मेरे भी अच्छे मित्र हैं भाई।
हाँ, एक्चुअली
गुड इवनिंग भैया।
हाँ, गुड इवनिंग।
बोल रहे भैया, जो रीट में पार्टिसिपेट नहीं किया है ये 148 में, उसका क्या होगा?
हाँ, ये मेरा अभी छूट गया बोलना मेरा। ये असेसमेंट तो मैंने बता दिया था। 2 तरह के आदमी हैं, जिन्होंने रीट फाइल किया है, जिन्होंने रीट फाइल नहीं किया है। ठीक है, तो जैसे मैंने कहा रीट फाइल किया, उनका नोटिस पास हो गया। जब तक वो सुप्रीम कोर्ट से डिसाइड नहीं होता है तब तक कुछ होने का नहीं है, वो उनकी स्टेट रहेगी प्रोसीडिंग। मान लीजिए सुप्रीम कोर्ट में हार गए, अपने हार गए, तो वो नोटिस रिवाइव हो जाएगी और फिर प्रोसीडिंग चालू होगी। लेकिन जो लोग नहीं फाइल किए हैं रिट पिटीशन, तो लॉ उनके लिए कोई अलग अलग तो नहीं हो सकता। अब आप जो फाइल नहीं किए उनको कलकत्ता हाई कोर्ट जजमेंट एक लगा कर भेज देनी चाहिए उनको कि दिस इज बाइंडिंग ऑन यू, क्योंकि आपका आधार मजबूत हो गया। अब आप रिट फाइल नहीं भी किए तो क्या हो गया, लेकिन कलकत्ता हाई कोर्ट का जजमेंट तो सब पर फॉलो होता है। ठीक है, वो जजमेंट इन पर्सोनम है, उस पर लागू होता है, लेकिन जजमेंट की जो नोटिस की वैलिडिटी है वो तो फैक्ट सबका एक ही है। ऐसा थोड़ी है कि मतलब उस पर लागू हो जाएगा और आप पे नहीं होगा।
मैंने कोई लॉ किसी के लिए बैड और किसी के लिए गुड तो नहीं हो सकता है।
नहीं हो सकता है, नहीं हो सकता है। बस यही है कि वो थोड़ी देर शांति में रहेंगे, आप थोड़ा चिट्ठी पर आप ये बोल रहे हैं ना कि उनके तो अभी भी नोटिस आ रही है।
नोटिस तो आ रही है, वो तो जो स्टे के बाद भी आ रहा था नोटिस,
हम लोग सबको भी आ रही है, वो तो आ रही है। ये तो फैसला जब तक सुप्रीम कोर्ट से नहीं आएगा तब तक नहीं होगा।
तो अभी हम लोग को इमीडिएट एक जजमेंट के साथ भेज देना चाहिए।
एक बात और मैं बताना चाह रहा था कि 15, 16, 17, 17, 18 की जो नोटिस आई है, अब इस हाईकोर्ट के ऑर्डर में कहा गया है कि नोटिस कैन बी इशूड एज पर द लॉ। एज पर लॉ इशू हो सकती है नोटिस। तो मान लीजिए 13, 14, 14, 15 का तो लॉ टाइम बार्ड ही हो गया,
टाइम बार्ड हो गया।
और सेक्शन 149 में तो स्पेसिफिक प्रोविजन ही है कि जो टाइम बार्ड हो गया उस समय नोटिस इशू नहीं हो सकती थी, अभी भी नहीं हो सकती, उस पर तो हो ही नहीं सकता। खाली रह गया 3 साल। अब ये बियॉन्ड 3 इयर्स आता है, नया लॉ आ गया इस साल में, तो वो लोग फिर से नोटिस इशू कर सकते हैं और ये अनदर राउंड ऑफ लिटिगेशन चल सकता है। लेकिन बियॉन्ड 3 ईयर जाने की जो नई कंडीशन है, कंडीशन क्या है कि इफ असेसिंग ऑफिसर हैज इन हिज पोजीशन बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट एंड फाइंड दैट इनकम रिप्रेजेंटेड इन द फॉर्म ऑफ एसेट हैज एस्केप्ड। देखिए, ये सेक्शन पहले भी था 153A में सर्च के प्रोविजन में, उसको बॉडीली लिफ्ट करके यहाँ लाया गया है क्योंकि ये सर्च सेक्शन मर्ज हो गए। ठीक है, तो सेक्शन में कोई फर्क नहीं आया। पहले क्या था, 6+4 था, 6 ईयर का खुल सकता था और 4 साल तब खुलेगा जब उनको ये पता चलेगा कि कोई एसेट आपके पास में था जो अनडिस्क्लोज्ड है। वही चीज अब ये 3 साल क्यों गया है? गवर्नमेंट ने कहा कि हम इसको एक्सपेडाइट करना चाहते हैं, हम लोगों को परेशानी कम देना चाहते हैं, 3 साल में ही हम सब काम सल्टा देंगे। तो 3+7 हो गया, पहले 6+4 था, अब वो 3+7 हो गया। तो 7 इयर्स में कोई इंफॉर्मेशन है, बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट्स है कि कोई एसेट है, एसेट हैज बीन डिफाइंड 149, तब वो नोटिस इशू करेगा। इसलिए शायद गवर्नमेंट ने कोई पोर्टल में भी वो डाला है, इधर नोटिफिकेशन कुछ आया था that whatever information is there you put there so taxpayers can know, and but they will not issue a notice 148 without complying with the 148A।
उसमें क्वांटम भी है ना भैया, 50 लाख का, अगर 50 लाख से नीचे है तो नहीं होगा।
नेचुरली 50 लाख तो है ही है, 50 लाख से ज्यादा इनकम एसेट की वैल्यू है जो स्केप कर गई है, उसकी नोटिस आएगी।
मान लीजिए अभी जो कोई नोटिस आया है फाइनेंशियल ईयर 16-17 का, और उसमें वो लिख के भेजा है रीजन में 40 लाख, तो वो नया एक्ट में तो फिर हो ही नहीं सकता है ना।
नहीं हो सकता है,
क्योंकि 40 को बढ़ा के आप वो 50 तो नया तो नहीं कर सकता।
नया कर सकता है, नहीं कर सकता है। So we are very in interesting phase of litigation।
प्रोफेशनल का काम तो इसी में चलता है ना।
हाँ, नहीं ठीक है, चलते रहना चाहिए।
हाँ, चलते रहना चाहिए।
नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन शशि शाह जी का। शशि शाह जी हैं क्या? सॉरी, नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन मनीष यादुका जी का एक क्वेश्चन है, तो मनीष हम अनम्यूट कर रहे हैं।
हाँ
हाँ
हाँ, नमस्ते भैया।
हाँ नमस्ते।
ये अपने मेरे को ये क्लियरिटी चाहिए थी कि कंपनी जो कन्वर्ट होती है एलएलपी में,
हाँ,
उनकी जो शेयर प्रीमियम जो हमारे रिजर्व में पड़े रहते हैं एलएलपी में रिजर्व में आ जाते हैं,
हाँ,
तो उनको जो उनके इंडिविजुअल पार्टनर्स हैं,
हाँ,
वो मेंबर्स जो हैं उनके फाइलों में शेयर के रूप में तो है नहीं, वो शेयर तो उनके फेस वैल्यू पर है।
ठीक है।
और तो ये शेयर प्रीमियम का उनके बुक्स में क्या दिखाएं और कैसे उसका ट्रीटमेंट करना चाहिए?
नहीं देखिए, उनके बुक्स में दिखाने का कोई मतलब नहीं है, क्योंकि भले ही ये सिर्फ प्रीमियम था या कंपनी के हाथ में प्रीमियम था, ठीक है।
हाँ
फर्म में तो ये रिजर्व एंड सरप्लस है, रिजर्व है,
हाँ
एक्यूमुलेटेड प्रॉफिट है, ठीक है, जिसमें कि किसका इंटरेस्ट है, पार्टनर का इंटरेस्ट है ना।
हाँ, तो वो तो डिसाइड,
शेयर्स एज वेल रिजर्व। मान लीजिए आप पार्टनर में बांट दीजिए, वो रिजर्व को जो है पार्टनर में बांट, कैपिटल में बांट दीजिए।
कैपिटल, उसका कैपिटल बढ़ा दे अपना क्या?
हाँ, कैपिटल बढ़ा दीजिए।
अच्छा, और रिजर्व बढ़ा दे, और इनका भी फिर यहाँ पर कैपिटल का पोजीशनिंग बढ़ा दे,
हाँ,
फिगर का यहाँ जो कैपिटल है, इनकी होल्डिंग है,
डिफरेंस जो है, डिफरेंस आप मतलब यहाँ कैपिटल रिसीट हो गया उसके लिए, क्योंकि ये तो कैपिटल गेन में ही जाएगा।
ये कैपिटल गेन में जैसे अपने अगर डिस्पोज नहीं कर रहे हैं 3 साल 5 साल का जो लॉक इन है, मान लीजिए इनकेस,
नहीं देखिए क्या है, ऑन द डेट ऑफ कन्वर्सन, जब आपका शेयर एक्सटिंग्विश हो गया एंड यू क्रिएटेड इन द पार्टनरशिप फर्म, कैपिटल गेन तो आ गया, आपका एक्रू हो गया, लेकिन वो कैपिटल गेन 3 साल बाद एग्जेम्प्ट हो गया जब आपने कंप्लायंस कर लिया।
हाँ हाँ,
कंप्लायंस नहीं किया तो जिस साल में कंप्लायंस नहीं किया उस साल में वो टैक्सेबल हो जाएगा।
हाँ, तो 3 साल अगर कंप्लायंस कर लिए तब,
हाँ, तब निकाल लीजिए पैसा, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है।
तब पैसा निकाल लें। और उनके जो बुक्स में जो मतलब इन्वेस्टमेंट एक फिगर अलग थी और शेयर कैपिटल का फिगर अलग था, ये
वो तो रह सकती है भाई। मान लीजिए कि आप अपनी तो ये सोच रहे हैं ना कि अपने कि भाई शेयर 10 रुपए का है, वो 10 रुपए का शेयर आपने लिया हो, अब मान आपसे हमने शेयर खरीद लिया 50,000 रुपए में, बिजनेस की वैल्यू के साथ चलता है ना ये तो।
हाँ,
तो फिर
तो उनके बुक्स में
वो तो कभी मैच नहीं होगा ना, कैसे मैच होगा?
मैच नहीं हो रहा है तो
नहीं, क्यों कैसे मैच होगा? मान लीजिए कि आपका शेयर होल्डर, आपने किसी को शेयर बेच दिया है हायर वैल्यू पे, आप तो लोअर की बात करते हैं, हायर वैल्यू बेच दिया तो कैसे मैच होगा? कभी मैच नहीं होगा। आपके इन्वेस्टमेंट कुछ भी हो सकता है।
अच्छा, ठीक है, मतलब वो एलएलपी का फिगर और ये फिगर दोनों अलग अलग हो सकता है।
हाँ,
तो वो ऐसे चलेगा।
हाँ भाई, जनरल पार्टनरशिप फर्म में तो फिगर एक रहता है, लेकिन क्योंकि कंपनी कन्वर्ट होके आ गई है तो दे विल अंडरस्टैंड इट।
सर, वो आपने एक प्रिंटिंग करके कोई कंपनी का कोई केस बताया था? डोमिनो।
हाँ,
अच्छा, ये कौन सा ये है इनका? ये
एआईआर की रूलिंग है, आप पढ़ लीजिएगा उसको। एआईआर की रूलिंग है, वो गूगल में मारेंगे मिल जाएगी।
ठीक, ओके, थैंक यू।
Any more questions from the house? Okay, दर्शन अग्रवाल जी, एक राहुल, दर्शन अग्रवाल जी को अनम्यूट कर दो।
1 मिनट कर देते हैं। दर्शन जी प्लीज अनम्यूट योरसेल्फ।
सर, एक क्वेश्चन था मेरा, जैसे हमारा डायरेक्ट टेक विवाद से विश्वास में हम लोग गए थे एक स्कीम में, पेनी स्टॉक से रिलेटेड हमारा केस था। इसमें फॉर्म 4 तक तो सर हमारा बहुत इजीली सब कुछ हो गया, हमारा पेमेंट वगैरह हो गया, बट फॉर्म 5 में काफी टाइम हो गया, और उसमें 2 स्टेटस पोर्टल पे अगर हम देखते हैं तो एक जगह दिखाता है अवेटिंग कंफर्मेशन फ्रॉम सीआईटी अपील्स, और एक जगह दिखाता है कि वो अपलोडेड है। तो उस केस में क्या करना चाहिए? मैंने इट हैज बीन अ लॉन्ग टाइम।
ये जवाब नहीं दे सकता इसका, क्योंकि ये बात से विश्वास में टेक्निकल वेबसाइट में कई लोगों की प्रॉब्लम है, फॉर्म 5 नहीं आ रहा है, जा रहा है, तो मैं इसमें कोई जवाब नहीं दे सकता।
असाइड सर, उसके अलावे हमारे पास जो असेसमेंट ईयर का केस था, हमारे पास उसकी नोटिस भी आ रही है कि आपका हियरिंग शेड्यूल हो रखा है वो, तो इसलिए उसमें अगर हमारे पास वो आ जाए,
सीआईटी वगैरह से मिलिए, बताइए लोगों को क्या प्रॉब्लम है और तो क्या हो सकता है, क्योंकि अभी तो फेसलेस में तो जाके मिलने से पता चलेगा।
अच्छा, मीन जनरली फॉर्म 5 आ जा रही है टाइमली सर, क्या वो मेरा माय कंसर्न वाज बिकॉज़ इट मे बी कि हमारे केस में कुछ टेक्निकल इशू की वजह से वो फंस रहा हो।
हाँ, वही बात होगी। अभी तो ऐसे ही मैं कल तो नोटिस का जवाब दे रहा था, अटैचमेंट ले नहीं रहा था, मैं अटैचमेंट लगा रहा हूँ, लेटेस्ट ले रहा है, और आज ले लिया अटैचमेंट। बार चिट्ठी आ रही है कि आपका अटैचमेंट नहीं आ रहा है, लगा रहे जा रहा है, मतलब ग्लिचेस का तो भगवान ही मालिक है, बात ही मत कीजिए, टेंशन हो जाता है, नाम सुनकर टेंशन हो जाता है।
ओके सर।
राजेश सिंघानिया
सर, मेरा एक क्वेश्चन है सुशील भैया।
हाँ राजेश बोलो।
मेरा ये क्वेश्चन है कि जो सेक्शन 148A और 149 जो आया था 1 अप्रैल 2021 से, तो उस समय ये बोला गया था कि 50 लाख या ऊपर का जो अगर एसेट अगर है एक फाइनेंस एक असेसमेंट ईयर में, तो 10 साल वो ओपन कर सकते हैं बैक।
ठीक है,
ठीक है, और 3 साल कर सकते हैं अगर ये 50 लाख से नीचे का है।
ठीक है।
अब मेरा ये बोलना है कि इसका मतलब क्या मैं ये मानूं कि 31/3/2015 टाइम बार होगा 2025 में जाकर के, 31 मार्च 2022 में होगा? मतलब 14 तो ये मुझे मालूम है, मार्च 14 इज नाउ आउट ऑफ एनी इन्वेस्टिगेशन, वेदर इट इज 50 lakhs और मोर, व्हाटएवर जो भी है, अंडर एनी सर्कमस्टेंसेस अदर देन प्रोबेबली बेनामी प्रॉपर्टी। तो मैं इस बात को ये मानूं कि 31/3/2014 का सारा रिकॉर्ड को हटा दूं, क्योंकि कोई भी क्वेरी तो आ ही नहीं सकता, मुझे जवाब देना नहीं है। अब सेवी उवी का कोई अगर कभी किसी का आए तो अलग बात है, जो भी वो आज बात हो रही थी कि उसको भी कोई, वो भी कहीं स्पेसिफाइड नहीं है उसके लिए भी कि क्या उसकी पीरियड है, टाइम लिमिट है। तो क्या 31/3/15 इज ओपन अप टू 31/3/2025?
नहीं
ये
देखिए,
जानना है, क्योंकि इसमें कुछ समझ में नहीं आ रहा है क्लियर।
नहीं राजेश, मैं बता रहा हूँ कि 15-16 जो है आज के दिन बात करें तो बियॉन्ड 3 years है।
हाँ, बियॉन्ड 3 years तो है ही,
बियॉन्ड 3 years है। असेसमेंट 18-19 तक का तो चाहे इररिस्पेक्टिव ऑफ एनी अमाउंट वो खोल सकता है।
एकदम सही है।
बियॉन्ड 3 years 50 लाख से ज्यादा का यदि इनकम रिप्रेजेंटेड इन द बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट्स इन द फॉर्म ऑफ एसेट्स है, तभी वो खोल सकता है।
करेक्ट है।
इसलिए वो लोग साइट में इंफॉर्मेशन दे भी रहे हैं कि किसका क्या इंफॉर्मेशन उनके पास में है, क्योंकि अब तो ये इंफॉर्मेशन बेस हो गया। अब आपको यहाँ से ये काउंट करना है कि 15-16 का अगले साल भी वो खोल सकता है, उसके अगले साल भी खोल सकता है, उसके अगले साल भी खोल सकता है, क्योंकि बियॉन्ड 3 years जब तक 10 साल कंप्लीट नहीं होती है तो खोल तो सकता ही है, यदि उसके पास इंफॉर्मेशन है कि आपके पास एसेट था।
करेक्ट है।
ठीक है, तो यही इसमें लॉ है।
मतलब भैया राजेश,
हाँ भैया,
मैं बता रहा हूँ इसमें मेन ही क्या है, लोग अब क्वेश्चन ये उठा रहे हैं कि देखिए इसमें क्या है कि 3 साल के बाद मान लीजिए किसी का 80 IB का डिडक्शन था, ठीक है, 40 A3 का डिसअलाउंसेस था, ठीक है ना, वो हो गया, वो चीज तो खोल ही नहीं सकता वो 3 साल के पहले, 3 साल के बाद, क्योंकि उसमें एसेट तो कुछ है ही नहीं। वहां से कहना है कि भाई हमने कैश में शादी विवाह में खर्चा कर दिया, तो वो हो सकता है कि मेरे साथ तो वो भी नहीं हो सकता।
वो भी नहीं हो सकता, शादी ब्याह का खर्चा भी नहीं हो सकता।
कैश था, क्योंकि 148-49 में एसेट को डिफाइन कर दिया है। एसेट के डिफाइन में कैश नहीं है। क्यों नहीं है कैश? कि आज किसी के यहाँ सर्च होती है, कुछ भी होता है, तो कैश तो आज मिलेगा, और एसेट 3 साल पहले की बात बढ़ रहा है, तो 3 साल पहले का कैश उसको आज थोड़ी कोई मिलेगा। जब कैश मिला तभी का माना जाएगा।
सही बात है,
समझ रहे? तो एक्सपेंडिचर भी नहीं माना जाएगा, कोई अलाउंस डिसअलाउंस। हाँ, ओनली जो एसेट्स है, लैंड, बिल्डिंग, शेयर, सिक्योरिटीज, गोल्ड, ज्वेलरी, जो है, इसमें भी क्या है, यदि तुम्हारा बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट्स भी दिखलाया हुआ है, आपको दिखलाया हुआ है, तो वो उसको नहीं खोल सकता है।
नहीं,
इसमें मैं एक सेमिनार सुन रहा था, उसमें मैं जन पढ़ा नहीं हूँ, कलकत्ता ITT का जजमेंट है 153A के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में। 153 में सेम लैंग्वेज थी ना, कि वो गोल्ड स्टार सीमेंट का जजमेंट है, ठीक है, उनमें 153A को ही डील किया है कि अगर आपके बुक्स में अकाउंट में है तो उसको वो नहीं खोल सकता है, नहीं ऐड कर सकता है।
नहीं, मेरा इसमें अब एक काउंटर क्वेश्चन है भैया,
सोर्स प्रूफ करने की दरकार नहीं है।
मेरा एक काउंटर क्वेश्चन इस केस में ये है,
हाँ,
कि से मार्च 15 तक कोई एक ऐसा ट्रांजैक्शन बुक्स में है जो कि मेरी बुक्स में भी दिखाया हुआ है, लेकिन वो ऐसा मुझे थोड़ा सा ऐसा लगता है कि वो प्रोबेबली कोई ये जो सेल कंपनी से कोई एंट्री है, तो अगर वो सेल कंपनी आज अगर नहीं मिल रही है, कोई सेल और परचेज का ट्रांजैक्शन है, फॉर एग्जांपल बता रहा हूँ, मेरा सेल और परचेज हुआ है, मैंने
वो नहीं खुल सकता।
सेल एंड परचेज है और मेरी बुक्स में बाई अकाउंट पे ही चेक से आया भी है और गया भी है, मेरी वैट रिटर्न में सारी परचेज, सेल, एवरीथिंग, ऑल एंट्रीज आर देयर।
कोई एसेट मिला है क्या जो अनडिस्क्लोज्ड है?
नहीं, एसेट तो मेरी बैंक में तो जमा हुआ ही है ना, रुपया सेल का,
वो नहीं माना जाएगा।
आर यू श्योर अबाउट इट? मैं यही बात जानना चाह रहा हूँ।
नहीं आएगा वो,
क्योंकि मुझे ये और कोई खतरा नहीं है, खतरा ये है कि जो पार्टी से ट्रांजैक्शन हुआ है,
अब देखो,
वो पार्टी आज की डेट में अवेलेबल नहीं है।
आप एसेट के डिफाइन में बैंक बैलेंस नहीं है,
एसेट के जो भैया 20 दिसंबर शायद 2021 को कुछ जो आया है क्लेरिफिकेशन,
क्या
उसमें शायद ये लिखा हुआ है कि इट विल इंक्लूड कैश। मैं बहुत श्योर नहीं, मुझे ये जो याद आ रहा, मैंने पढ़ा
मेरे
था।
को मैंने देखा नहीं है, अगर कुछ ऐसा है तो
ये
नाम
लेटेस्ट ही है, 20 दिसंबर 2021 का है।
कैश आ गया, कैश आ
हाँ
गया,
भैया,
कैश है उसमें।
हाँ उसमें कैश है, मैं यही बात बोलना चाह रहा हूँ, उसमें कैश है। तो अगर मेरा तो ये कोई कैश या नहीं, मेरे बैंक में रुपया जमा हुआ है, से जमा हुआ है, आई एम स्केप्टेबल कि वो पार्टी अगर मुझे से 148A कर दिया तो पार्टी नहीं भी मिल सकती है। तब उस केस में मैं क्या करूं? मैं डरूं कि एकदम मतलब बेफौक चलूं? ये बात मुझे जानना बस।
नहीं देखिए, लॉ में तो कभी बेफौक चलने की बात ही नहीं है। अच्छा केस जो है, मैं बता रहा हूँ, मेरे कुछ क्लाइंट्स हैं जो एक्चुअल में इंटर कॉर्पोरेट डिपॉजिट लिए हैं, हर महीना ब्याज देते हैं, ठीक है, उनका वो 68 मेडिसिन हो गया है, तो बेफौक क्या होगा चल के?
भैया
चलना ही ठीक है, मतलब अपना
भैया
ठीक रखिए।
2-3 दिन पहले एक ऑर्डर आया ना, कंपनी अगर एक्टिव है, कोई भी कंपनी है, तो सेक्शन 68 में एडबैक नहीं होगा।
देखिए ऐसा है, अगर हम लोग अभी अब 68 का डिस्कशन करेंगे तो काफी टाइम लग जाएगा।
नहीं ठीक है,
68 के बारे में मेरा 68 के बारे में मेरा खाली मैं 2-3 बताना चाहता हूँ कि कोई भी जजमेंट, कोई भी रूलिंग सब बेकार है। एक एस्टेब्लिश लॉ जो है, आइडेंटिटी, क्रेडिबलनेस, जेन्युइननेस, यही लॉ है, और सारी चीज फैक्ट्स के आधार पर घूमती है।
सही बात,
आप उसको बोल देंगे सेल कंपनी से आया है, इसमें रूलिंग आ गई, अब सारा फैक्ट्स देखना पड़ेगा कि आपकी एक जेन्युइन ट्रांजैक्शन है कि नहीं है। हजारों जजमेंट 68 में है, हजार फैक्ट्स में है
भैया।
स्टैंडर्ड जैकेट फॉर्मूला नहीं है।
अनिल भैया
हाँ, ये जो असेसमेंट ईयर 14-15, वहां पर ये बोला है ना कि 1/4/21 को जो नहीं खुल सकता वो नहीं खुलेगा नया एक्ट में। लेकिन ओल्ड एक्ट में सर्च के केस में तो 10 साल था पहले भी, 50 लाख से ऊपर में, ओल्ड एक्ट में।
हाँ,
तो अगर इन द केस ऑफ सर्च तो अभी भी वो लोग 14-15 खोल सकता है अगर 50 लाख से ऊपर होगा तो। वहां पर ये बोला है ना कि जो पहले एक्ट में नहीं खुल सकता था वो नहीं खुलेगा।
वो तो सेक्शन खत्म हो गया, वो भी कहाँ है?
हाँ,
153 भी तो खत्म हो गया, वो भी तो
इसीलिए वो रिप्लेस हो गया ना,
वो सेक्शन रिप्लेस हो गया। लेकिन वहां तो ये बोला है ना कि जो 1/4/21 को बोला है कि जो ओल्ड एक्ट में नहीं खुल सकता था वो और नहीं खुलेगा। ठीक है, ओल्ड एक्ट में तो खुल सकता था ना 14-15 सर्च के केस में, इन द केस ऑफ सर्च, 10 साल था।
हाँ,
तो ओल्ड में खुल सकता, तो नया में सर्च के केस में 10 साल क्यों नहीं खुलेगा? 14-15 आज अगर अब सर्च होगा तो 10 साल नहीं जा सकता है वो?
नहीं, आज होगा तो नहीं जा सकता है, जा सकता है।
50 लाख से ऊपर होगा तो हम ये बोल रहे हैं जा सकता है ना।
आज होगा तो
14-15 भी कवर हो जाएगा ना। सर्च के केस में तो 14-15 और 13-14 भी कवर हो जाएगा।
कवर हो जाएगा, करेक्ट, कवर हो जाएगा।
सर्च के केस में
राजेश जो बोल रहा है कि हम उसको बुक्स को फाड़ के फेंक
देंगे, एग्जैक्टली मेरा क्वेश्चन यही था।
नहीं, फाड़ के फेंक देगा तो बच जाएगा, क्योंकि वहां बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट मिलेगा नहीं तुमको। सर्च के केस में मिलना चाहिए कुछ।
ना ये क्लियरिटी है एकदम 13 और 14 वाली पूरी। भैया
वो बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट से मिलना जरूरी है ना, बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट में मिलना जरूरी है।
हाँ, बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट से मिलना जरूरी है। नया वाला एक्ट लागू होगा, माने वो रिप्रेजेंटिंग एसेट्स और वो सब होना चाहिए। पुराना एक्ट में तो खुल सकता था ना 10 साल तक।
नहीं, इसमें एक्चुअली क्या है, कंट्रोवर्सी ये होनी चाहिए जो कई फॉर्म में हुई भी है कि मान लीजिए शेयर कैपिटल बोगस है, उसको लेके आपको लैंड बिल्डिंग खरीद ली है, और 3 साल पहले में वो चीज आएगी क्या?
शेयर कैपिटल को तो ले रहा है लोग।
हाँ,
शेयर कैपिटल को तो ले रहा है रिप्रेजेंट, क्योंकि शेयर कैपिटल को खर्चा तो किए नहीं आप, कोई ना कोई एसेट्स है शेयर कैपिटल के अगेंस्ट में।
नहीं, ये है बात, लेकिन जो मैंने बताया अभी, जो कलकत्ता ट्रिब्यूनल का जजमेंट है 153A को लेकर के, यदि बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट्स में है तो वो उसको एडिशन नहीं कर सकता है, एसेट्स है तब भी। वो एस्केप रिंग कंपनी, एस्केप कहाँ है? वो तो डिस्क्लोज किया हुआ है,
तब तो शेयर कैपिटल होगा ही
नहीं होना चाहिए,
क्योंकि शेयर कैपिटल भी बुक्स में है और उससे जो एसेट्स हुआ वो भी बुक्स में है।
वो भी बुक्स में है, नहीं होना चाहिए। लेकिन अब वो सब चीज तो अब राजेश पूछे कि अब तो बेवकूफ घूमे, तो बात अब कब होगा ये पता नहीं, क्या जजमेंट आएगा इसका। लेकिन अभी जो जजमेंट जो है, अभी का जजमेंट जो है कोलकाता आईटीटी का, गोल्ड स्टार सीमेंट का, मैंने पूरा पढ़ा नहीं है, लेकिन ऐसा काफी सीनियर लॉयर ने बताया है किसी सेमिनार में ही कि वो जजमेंट बहुत अच्छा जजमेंट है, और उसके हिसाब से 153A में नहीं खुल सकता, एडिशन नहीं हो सकता।
तब तो हम क्या ये बात को यहाँ फाइनलिटी में माने कि अगर मेरी बुक्स में अगर एंट्री है
तो कुछ नहीं होगा, और
उसके तब और उसके बाद में जो असेट जो भी कन्वर्ट हुआ, से रुपया बैंक में जमा हुआ तो कोई ना कोई फॉर्म में तो रुपया है,
हाँ,
वो कोई भी हो, तब क्या कोई खोल सकता है क्या? ये मेरा क्वेश्चन है यहाँ पर। अब ये क्वेश्चन अब आ गया।
नहीं, बैंक में रुपया है तो आप बता रहे हैं ना, कोई नोटिफिकेशन आया, मेरे को ध्यान में नहीं है कोई ऐसा नोटिस आया है तो।
नहीं, हाँ, ये एक आया है, बैंक में रुपया जमा हुआ है, जितना मुझे याद आ रहा है भैया, बैंक में रुपया जमा हुआ है, से कैश क्रेडिट अकाउंट है, तो अल्टीमेटली मान लीजिए हमने उससे कोई इन्वेस्टमेंट कर दिया तो वो भी तो एसेट हो गया ना। तो
हाँ।
बैंक में रुपया है, कोई एस्केपमेंट नहीं हुआ है, और एसेट जो है एकदम एक्सप्लेन्ड है। अब क्वेश्चन केवल यही है कि क्या डिपार्टमेंट इसको सेक्शन 68 में कहीं जा सकता है इस केस को लेकर के? जैसे मैंने जो आपको एक बताया एग्जाम्पल की, हमको डर लग रहा है कि कोई सेल कंपनी से रुपया आया हुआ है, मेरा ये क्वेश्चन।
नहीं कर सकता है।
हाँ,
नहीं कर सकता है, यदि एसेट है और डिस्क्लोज किया हुआ है तो नहीं कर सकता।
यस सर, एकदम बुक्स में बकायदा उसी पार्टी के नाम से एंट्री है, सारा परचेज और सेल का ट्रांजेक्शन है उसमें
है। और ये जजमेंट अपने को पढ़ लेना चाहिए, गोल्ड स्टार सीमेंट का,
गोल्ड स्टार सीमेंट वाला। ठीक है, ठीक है, ये जजमेंट को पढ़ना पड़ेगा।
कलकत्ता ITAT है ये?
हाँ,
कलकत्ता ITAT तो बाइंडिंग होगा यहाँ के लिए।
हाँ बाइंडिंग है, अगर बाइंडिंग करा सकते हैं तो।
थैंक यू भैया।
भैया एक क्वेश्चन, लास्ट मेरा एक क्वेश्चन है।
हाँ,
सपोज जिसका मेरा रिट पिटीशन में इस साल असेसमेंट ईयर 13-14 का केस छूट गया है, लेकिन कोई कारणवश 18-19 में क्या वो रीओपन होता है 50 लाख के ऊपर को लेके, तो फिर जो अभी मेरा केस छूटा है
उसको क्या बोल रहे हैं? 13
मैं ये बोल रहा हूँ भैया, असेसमेंट ईयर 13-14 का कोई मेरा रिट पिटीशन के कारण क्वेश्ड हो गया कोई भी, ठीक है, 18-19 का तो अभी वो खोल सकता है, या 50 लाख के ऊपर का है तो 10 साल का वो बैक खोल सकता है।
हाँ, एकदम।
तो वो असेसमेंट ईयर 13-14 भी फिर वो खोल सकता है हमारा?
नहीं।
हाँ,
13, 14, 14, 15 सर्च के केस में खुलेगा, अदरवाइज नहीं खुलेगा।
नहीं खुलेगा, करेक्ट।
10 साल वाला क्राइटेरिया में नहीं खुलेगा।
नहीं, वो 1/4/21 को जो पुराना एक्ट में नहीं खुल सकता था, वो नया एक्ट में नहीं खुलेगा।
अच्छा,
एकदम लिखा हुआ है, एक्ट जो आया एक्ट में लिखा हुआ है।
अच्छा, ओके, थैंक यू। ओके, thank you भैया, thank you for your nice deliberation. Now I request our secretary Rahul Rungta to offer a vote of thanks. Over to Rahul.
Thank you, Bikash bhaiya. I hope I am audible properly.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Sushil bhaiya, for the wonderful deliberation for today. As we can see from the attendance, we had over 100 people attending the conference. In fact, if I'm correct, over 150 people have attended today's webcast. So, sir, thank you very much for the wonderful deliberations. Sir, on behalf of everyone, I thank you for taking out time from your busy schedule and sharing your knowledge with us. We are very, very happy and delighted to have heard from you all the kind guidance that we have received from you. Thank you, sir. And on behalf of the association, I would also like to thank everyone who was present here during the entire webinar and for making the webinar a grand success. We have another group discussion tomorrow, and I'm sure all who are members of VIPCA, you have received information about it via the various WhatsApp groups. We request, or we look forward to your presence in tomorrow's group discussion as well. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sushil, for your nice.
Stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you.
Thank you, Bajrang. Thank you, Rahul. Bye-bye.